brilliant. And there we go. Hi, Nikki.
I can see you now, Nikki.
We've got 120 people registered. I think some people are coming today and some people are going to wait for the recording because they can't make it today. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes just for people to come in and join us, and then start by introducing the panel. It's great to see so many people are interested in investment equality. It's brilliant to see so many people.
Sorry, Amy, I was going to mention other stats as well about angel investing, increasing business survival by almost 25%.
Yeah, that's amazing. It is, yeah.
Investors.
So I'm gonna start just because I think we'll start by talking about what we're going to talk about today, and we're really going to cover four main areas: why inclusive angel investing matters, what's happening, what's growing awareness and actions that are happening that are creating results in inclusive investing, and then as a panel sharing what we've learned and how everybody here and attending and everybody wider can be involved in investment equality as well. And then lastly, we're going to pool what we know about where to find inclusive investors as well. So in the panel, we have got Carol Hall, Jill Jones, Irene Maffini, and Nikki Duquette. And I'll ask everybody to introduce them. Irene, would you like to start and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Amy. Hi, everyone. So my name is Irene Maffini, and I'm a sustainability investor. I spent the last 12 years across sustainability kind of verticals, and in the last year, I focus on sustainable fashion, on the textile industry, in particular on circular economy and new materials.
Nikki, thanks, Irene. Nikki, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Nikki, and I am an active angel investor and advisor to startups. My background is finance. I spent the first part of my career in investment banking and private equity in North America. And then I spent about almost 8 or 9 years at Nike. And I'm trying to take that experience and work in the consumer branded and sort of sport wellness industry and value add there.
Brilliant. Carol, can you introduce yourself as well?
Hi, my name is Carol Hall. I'm the investment manager at Angel Invest Wales. It's the angel network that's within the Development Bank of Wales. I moved here 5 years ago to help build the angel community, and we've been working with the likes of Jill Jones over the last few years to build that community of investors and more recently make it more diverse.
Thank you, Carol. And Jill, finally.
Hello, everyone. As Carol said, I'm based in South Wales. My background is in optometry, also in property, commercial, industrial, and residential. I have been an angel investor for years, have studied the outcome of angel investing for a master's dissertation, and am now in the final year studying for a PhD into why there are so few women involved in angel investing.
Thank you, Jill. That's brilliant in terms of your PhD as well. And I'm a founder of Newton's Theory. We're a team of finance directors and management accountants that particularly support businesses that are growing. And a lot of those are going through angel investing raises as well as other sources of funding. And I set up Inclusive Angels with a co-founder some years ago. And I'm really pleased to have everybody here today talking about inclusive investing. Briefly, I think when I say the line, it's going to be self-explanatory, but why inclusive angel investing matters for societal equality, from quality of life and health to wealth equality. From a inclusive angels line that Jill and I came up with, we're very much have the view that founders and investors who reflect the diversity of society create businesses who reflect and serve the needs of a diverse society. And I'd just like to ask the panel for their views as well, why it matters for them. Irene, if you jump in.
So I think there is, in general, like in kind of increasing like research that's showing that diverse kind of teams outperform. So when you're investing in teams, in people, I think increases your chances of success as an investor, making returns by backing actually diverse founders. And they will come. I guess they will look at problems for different like areas, and I think I really enjoy investing in and also working with multidisciplinary teams, and they can definitely see how they are poised, like they are likely to be more successful. So that's that's I hope I replied to your question.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. And Nikki, why you see it from a founder's perspective as well as an angel investor's perspective?
Yeah, I think selfishly from myself as an angel,
Yeah.
It's value investing. So the little bit of capital that I have to try and invest in either a founder that I think is really interesting, or a company or the product market fit that's interesting, but also even within that, there's, I think, solving problems for different consumer groups, but equally, what does redefining leadership look like going forward? And how do you help back founders that will create companies that might employ people, that look at how we can set up or create profitable businesses with new processes that work? And so what does redefining leadership look like? And how can you find those people that can push those levers? And to me, that's really interesting, and how I can help support just with some of my experience or my background, and help to empower those people to create those conversations and ultimately create, I think, profitable, sustainable businesses that put that out into the world. So I think it's exciting. And the more I can bring my network into that and to be part of those conversations, whatever that is, or whatever sector that ends up being in, to me, that feels really exciting. And that's pushing something positive back.
Great. Thank you, Nikki. And Carol, for you, starting Women Angel Wales, there's a passion and a purpose behind that.
Yeah, so yeah, we started an initiative back in May in terms of actually let's get a focus group of angels in Wales, or potential angels in Wales, to start thinking about being angel investors. So for us, we all know diversity is key in all areas, and it is in angel investing. But back in May, we got Helen Oldham from North Invest in to talk to a group of women in Wales about angel investing. So she was a really good role model to talk about investing, and the people in the room who could be angel investors weren't actually thinking about doing it prior to that event. So we do need diversity, but the accessibility is really, really important. So, creating events where people can come along, be curious, be inspired by somebody that's out there doing it, and then have the support around them to get going is really, really important. Because in terms of why for the wider world, people invest in what they know, they'll invest in more diverse products. And as more tech businesses are being built and we've got more intelligent businesses being created, we want women behind them and help building some of the frameworks of them, so that they're delivering things for the whole of society, not just for a select group of people that are making those decisions. So yeah, we want women all the way from being founders to exiting to being leaders and helping make some of those key decisions.
That's a really important point, Carol, that you made there from the consumer side as well. It's really important that we consider who are creating the businesses that we want to be able to buy from, both now and in the future. And Jill, it's definitely something close to your heart.
Yes, carrying on from what Carol said, founders tend to start businesses because they've identified a problem or a challenge that they want to address. And if those businesses aren't getting the funding and support, then those products or services won't be coming to market. Business angel investment can increase the chance for business survival by almost 25%. So it's very important that this is something that's open to all, to address all parts of society.
it's really important, that angel investing side for the early start of the business. Yeah, really important.
Not just the finance, it's everything else that angels bring. It's the smart money, it's the access to networks, it's the general support, the ongoing support, really.
Yeah, really good points. It is that wider part of the connections that angels can bring and that expertise as well. And if we move on to what we've touched on already, is what's happening, the growing awareness and actions. And I'll give a brief run through, and then we move specifically to Angel Investing School and Women Angel Wales, and your experiences as well from the panel. And so there have been trailblazers starting 20 plus years ago who've started groups and syndicates that have been investing inclusively and with equality in mind. Ones like Sarah Turner and Angel Academy, Jackie Waring and Investing Women, Astia, VC and Seeds, groups that have risen in the last 10 years, from Arlen Hamilton with Backstage Capital, Cornerstone VC, more recently Alma Angels, Ada Ventures, Angel Investing School, Angels Investing Wales, just to name a few. Researchers who've done some great work like Dana Kanze, who sold her business for 20 million and has gone on to do a lot of research about what's happening in the investment world. Malin Malmström, who did some research with the VC in Sweden, and Clues Access to Funding, which is a campaign for disability investment equality within founders who are disabled. We Are Radicals Over Being Underfunded campaign for women founders. So the number is increasing every year, and investing with an inclusive mindset is becoming more mainstream as the equitability of it and the returns are being understood. Even Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank Investments has said recently that 75% of his returns have come from companies run by women. On that positive note, can we talk about perhaps Angel Investing School and your work, Nikki and Irene, particularly with them?
Yeah, I guess I can kick it off, and then Irene, let me know what you think. Yeah, so when I started my journey, so I left Nike, my full-time role there a year and a half ago, and I had never angel invested before. I've never invested in a startup. And to be fair, I didn't have a lot of friends who did, but I thought, given my background, to me, I thought that was something really interesting, and I didn't know where to start. Even though I have a finance background, I also felt really nervous about it and thought, oh, I don't know everything, or how do I do this? Or yeah, I mean, so I found from a Google search, I found Angel Investing School. And so I did that, and that was just incredible for me. They did 8 weeks of lectures online. So at that time it was during COVID. So everything was online and not in person. Yeah. But the access to that network, to other people who, were interested like I was, and I didn't know many people in that world at that time. And so for me to just expand my network, to learn to be able to ask questions, to have people to go to, and to learn that I didn't have to have like a massive check size to do it. I could go in with a small check size. I could use my experience to potentially add value, because that was something I wanted to be an active angel if I could, and try and add value however I might be able to, and learn that way to help create value and grow something. So for me, the Angel Investing School was a really great entry point, gave me the sort of tools and network that I was looking for. And now there's deal flow. I think more people are knowing about it, and yeah, it just continues to grow. So it's been super helpful for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in addition to Nikki, I guess I agree with everything that she said. And in particular, I guess for me, I was working at the time of starting it in kind of investment. But I always thought about angel investment as more like my dream, something I will be doing, you know, in 10, 20 years time. And doing the course actually, I guess, made me realize that that was not the case, that you could start making angel investment with small checks. We were just discussing with Amy, you know, the ways to do that, which is, you know, in some cases through crowdfunding, or at the moment, I think it's very easy to set up special purpose vehicle, SPV kind of structure, to allow small ticket size investors to invest together, and having just basically one name of the SPV on the cap table for the entrepreneur, as well as, I guess, you know, and also having entrepreneurs that don't put sort of like a minimum check size to allow people to invest in their company, because they are focusing on getting more women or diverse investors on their cap table. I've seen that happening a lot, especially recently. And for me, also the Angel Investment School was actually very kind of mind-opening in terms of diversity of angel investors. So every class we had a different angel investor. They spoke about a topic, from developing their own investment thesis to, you know, tax relief. And for me, I guess the course was very kind of fundamental in developing my own investment thesis, or confirming that what I was already thinking was right. So I have a very, very focused investment thesis. And that, you know, is something that when you talk to, especially, you know, experienced and older male investors, the message I always got is always all about diversity. You need to start thinking you have to invest in 70, 80 companies, which I think is quite overwhelming from many reasons, but also from a financial reasons, you know, like, and I had a very small capital kind of to start with that I saved up, you know, over the last 5 years. So that was also quite important. There was a particular angel investor that was a successful entrepreneur and started like angel investment, and his thesis was very focused. He had a small portfolio companies where he was very involved, and that really kind of resonated with me. And in parallel to the Angel Investment School, I also joined some angel syndicates. In particular, I think Alma Angels has been the community where I found a lot of angel investors that kind of resonated much more with my investment thesis, and actually set up a community focused on sustainable fashion within that, which now has like 80 or so angels out of overall 350 angels. And then there are also amazing communities like Hermesa that focuses on supporting female founders, but also empowering first-time angel investors to you know, work alongside more experienced investors, participate in the due diligence. I think these are all kind of really amazing places to join for people that are thinking to start angel investment, and maybe you to be given a little bit of a push to kind of start and make the first investment.
That's brilliant, Irene. Thank you. And the angel groups can be really important, even if you're not investing within the syndicate together. You're learning from each other, and that I know is important to Carol and Jill for your angel group as well. What ways do you feel it's going to be different to other angel groups and will attract more women? How are you doing things differently? So Carol, do you understand?
So what are we doing differently? We're kind of not doing things differently to some other groups in the rest of the UK. We've talked to the likes of Marla at Hermesa. We've talked to the guys in Scotland at Mint Ventures. We're kind of talking to other people that are going on this journey at the same time and sharing best practice. It's amazing how when you reach out to other groups, they're very willing to give you their time and share their best practice tips. So we're very much collaborating across the UK in terms of our journey. And within Wales, we're very much following what Helen Oldham did with Women Angels of the North in Leeds in terms of Women Angels of Wales, and just having a very focused female angel only syndicate. I think Jill will explain, that's just for women. They're regular catch-ups once a month where Jill is driving the group forward, creating an informal group identity with their core values and objectives and rules of thumb. So I think we're in the early stages, but the really interesting thing for me is because the core women that started it at the 13 have created this identity now that people are buying into. So we have, before Angel Invest Wales have been running for 5 years, and we had about 20 women registered, some active, some not quite engaged for various reasons. Since we've started this group of focused women learning and sharing together, we've got another 20 women registered and really keen to be active straight away, and another 20 in the background still waiting to see, in the next, we've only going for 4 months, but in the next 6 months, hopefully they'll be on board as well. I went to an event last night and another 4 women wanted to get involved. So I think we're getting real traction really fast because it is very focused just on women, small ticket sizes, very inclusive, and a lot of learning and support around it.
That's great, Carol, thank you. And it does say how many women are interested in angel investing. If there's a place where they can go, having a small ticket size without knowledge, and that's for all of us really. It's kind of breaking that mold of the very high net worth, high ticket size investment. And from a perspective for women, there is, I think, 48% of wealth sits with women, and is going to be more than 50% by 2025. So, Jill, you were talking earlier about that a lot of the women who are now being part of your group hadn't thought about it before because they hadn't been asked. Not to steal your thunder on that point, but can you talk about what you've heard from the angels that are joining?
It certainly goes to show what a huge untapped resource we've had, because I've spoken to many women over the last few weeks and months with Carol, and it's been a case of they may have been aware of angel investing, or they may have been aware of people doing it, but because they weren't invited or asked to be involved themselves, they just felt it wasn't something that they should be doing. So I think to actually be involved now and find that there is a collaborative and friendly, non-competitive group where they can just learn together. One thing I'd say about the group as well is Carol mentioned that we have the informal meets sort of once a month, because it's very important who you're investing with, and that we've spent quite a bit of time refining our aims and values of the group, so that not that there's a group think because we come from a wide range of backgrounds and different perspectives, but just so that we're all moving in the same direction. And also, I think it's very important that the group evolves. We're speaking to other groups around the country, but there are quite a range of geographical differences. The angel activities centred around London and the South East. Wales has its own particular challenges geographically, so it's very important to us that we take it beyond Wales as far as connecting with investors is concerned, and also that we're not just focused on South Wales, that we involve the whole of Wales in this, because it is inclusive geographically as well as from other perspectives.
Yeah, that's a really important point about the regions as well, and the recent report that came out last week that we've mentioned in our intro to the webinar, the UK BAA and Bohurst report on angel investing, that it still was at the 14% that of angels that are women, and 62% is London and the South East. But the good thing is that it is right across the regions that they're seeing angels investing, and coming out more into the regions is really important, and that collaborating with groups as well. That is a nice sort of segue into talking about how angel groups might be bringing in inclusive practices into their investing processes. Things like moving away from just the pitch And I know that's something we touched on before. Jill, if you want to talk about how that might come into your processes and how Fund North has done that as well.
Again, that's where it comes to the relationships. It's the relationships with the fellow investors and also building the relationship with the founder, because angel investing isn't just smart money, it's also patient capital. You're going to be involved with the company and with the other investors for a very long period of time. So it's getting to know them, getting to know the person behind the product and their aims and values, and ensuring that you align really, and that the founder understands what the angels can bring to them.
Yeah.
Very much, it's very exciting with our group at the moment because there are a number of women who are new to angel investing. So it's a case of understanding the whole concept, but also learning together as we're growing and finding what our group means for us in Wales at this time, which is a very exciting prospect.
Yeah. And meeting those founders and with the founder and angel meet is really important in terms of those warm introductions give a 13 times likelihood of getting investment. So that's sharing that network. It's really important. And I know Irene and Nikki, we've talked about that before, and perhaps Nikki, you would like to talk about your thoughts that you shared before on sharing your social capital and widening your network.
Yeah, I think, yeah, in my network, a lot of people hadn't thought about angel investing before. So already I'm seeing, and I think I was surprised even just how much deal flow there is and how much what looks like really interesting opportunities, really strong founders. And so being able to take some of those ideas or those pitch decks, if you will, and make introductions within my network, even from a potential investing perspective, or from, do you need help with your business or certain parts of your business, or do you need expertise, or how are you looking to hire or build out your team? I think that's been something has created really good conversations. And I think just continuing to be vocal about it, and how do you help enable more people to know what's available or know how to do it, or empower the founders to also feel really confidently that they can go out and speak to new investors or new team members and bring them on board. So how can I be helping to empower them to also facilitate better discussions so that they can get what they need for their businesses too?
Yeah. And Irene, yeah.
In addition to that, also something that I've actually kind of like noticed in my experience is that when entrepreneurs reach out to female investors, being these angels, VCs, so kind of family offices, they are more likely to send them to the network of female or male investors, even if the deal is not for them. And most of the time, I actually get quite good deal flow from these type of investors that look at an opportunity that is too early stage for them, as anyway most funds will focus on kind of late seed, and I will look at things pre-seed, kind of early seed, and because they want to be helpful, they kind of like the entrepreneur, and especially if it was like a female founder, and then they make an effort to help them out using their network. So I think this is actually something that somehow I see female investors doing more than males, but that's just my experience.
Yeah. So you're saying some angels and some VCs being very intentional about sharing their network, and I think that's really important as well, that if we can individually share our network out for new angels, for founders, just knowing who are inclusive minded, that can link you to other people. And that, I think that's getting more and more important for us to be sharing our social capital as well. I think there was something on LinkedIn yesterday that said 150 VCs Europe-wide are having an open doors event, so that they're trying to break down that warm introductions, because ultimately it it means they're only fishing in half of the pool if they're looking at warm introductions, not all of investment. And so there, as well, for founders who are, we've talked about this side as well, as founders who are looking for angels who are more inclusive or from diverse backgrounds as well. Nikki, do you want to give your thoughts? I know you covered before with me about your thoughts on how founders can attract more diverse investors.
Initially, when I first started, how I thought I would angel invest, I initially thought I would just focus on female founders. But actually what I have found is that I want to cast a wider net, and I'm not just focused on female founders, because I actually think it's important to have, I'm finding that sometimes I'm the only female investor or female advisor for some of the other companies or other startups that I'm working with who are predominantly male founders or a male team. And so actually having my voice and seeing them and helping them think through, how do they build a more diverse team? How do they think about their end markets in a different way than maybe they had thought of before? Or that's the purpose of my role and my responsibility, to help add that particular perspective for them. And that ultimately they are thinking more diverse in terms of how they're building their teams or how they're coming to the market. And I'm finding that in my experience so far, they're super open to those discussions and wanting to have, I think there's actually, what I have found too, is I think people underestimate there's such a desire to have a more diverse voice. And I think sometimes either they're not finding it for whatever reason, excuse me, within their networks, but I think all of these types of discussions, this type of webinar, like all of us trying to do our own bit, in our respective worlds, has to add up to something. It's like, I always think about this whole thing, like it's like a big tanker ship, right? Everything, it's like it's going to move really, really slow, but you need all these little like speedboats all around the tanker to try and help move it and point it at the right direction. So I think, it's just being super open to that, and forcing, when you see something that you need to speak up and say something, you can. And when those opportunities are there, I think people are really responsive to it. And ultimately, if it's good business and it's going to create profitable, sustainable growth for the teams, people are super receptive to that. And I think people are becoming more and more open to seeing how diversity and I suppose diversity of thought can actually be very, very good business. And that's what feels really exciting.
Yeah, I love that analogy, and definitely the group, moving away from the group think and that diversity of thought. There's very much, in terms of collaboration from a financial point of view, you're collaborating across your teams, you're thinking about your customers, you're thinking about innovation towards your customers. All the research that talks about how diverse leadership leads to more profitability for all of those reasons. And there, in terms of returns, angel investment returns as well from diverse leadership, it is much higher statistically. We can talk about that separately, but that's lots of different reports on that. And so that we can also talk about how accelerators, which can very much be routes into those investor networks and warm introductions. How have you seen that accelerators and incubators can add to that inclusive investment as well? Is there anybody who wants to jump in on that one?
I'm happy to jump on it, because I think I kind of set up and run various incubators and accelerators, so the Carbon Trust and Sustainable Ventures, and actually can also kind of compare the two. So for me, I guess, having been an impact investor for my career, when I say impact, at the beginning, the impact word was clean tech or clean technologies, and that's actually was a very non-diverse, I think, and entrepreneurs, like most entrepreneurs, average entrepreneur was 50 plus, white and male and from the UK. And then when I actually, I guess, worked in an accelerator sustainable ventures that was more focused on sustainability across kind of many industries, we also had a very big focus on diversity. Especially that was something that was pushed by the kind of senior investment team and the leadership. We kind of signed up to the Investing in Women Code. So there was a big criteria when selecting each company, alongside kind of impact, because that was what we would kind of be focusing on. And so I think Sustainable Ventures, when I was there, kind of, we made the 28 investments, and we were actually very proud of the diversity in the portfolio. And then the big focus of our work was getting them, invest in their pre-seed, and through a structured 12 months accelerator program that was tailored to each company, then getting them to the next funding event and introducing them to our network. So that was, I can see how accelerators can add values for the right companies. And when I say the right companies, usually, there would be a lot of first-time entrepreneurs. Maybe there would also be solo founders that they really want and welcome the support and are eager to kind of learn and work. That might not work for more like seasoned entrepreneurs. They've already done it once. They already have also their own network. But I think, in my experience, I think that that this type of kind of settings, incubators, accelerators can help if there's, if diversity is one of the criteria that they use in the selection of the company, they then open up, a more diverse deal flow for investors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. In Wales, we've got several accelerators and co-working spaces, and they are pretty vital in terms of bringing startups together, educating them on investor readiness, but also they're all doing various initiatives for more inclusivity and diversity. So for me, they're essential in terms of creating this angel group and giving them places to go to find founders, and founders that have got more of an idea about being investor ready when the conversations start.
Yeah, those are really important, and the number of accelerators that have now, and over the last 5 years, been working very hard in terms of improving their cohorts and the diversity within those groups. And some of that is coming from the images that they use, the languages, using more growth mindset languages of we're growing and, to use the word, accelerating rather than being the best. So those growth mindset tend to bring in more women and men as founders, but don't alienate men, whereas be the best in the world tends to not speak to women as much. And the other side is, as individuals, that mentoring and expertise that we can bring as well. And sometimes that can be as a perception that we're giving more of a helping hand, that rather than the perception that we're leveling the support. So if I give a Rose Review stat, that might change that perception. When the Rose Review found that 5% of female founders had a mentor, a business mentor, versus 12%. And so perhaps the women absolutely want funding first, as do people of colour, LGBT and disabled. All aspects want funding first, but mentoring can be really good route to that funding, whether that's bank funding or investor funding. And so we talked earlier about the angel investing coming alongside with that expertise as well. Perhaps, Jill, you want to bring in your experience of that and how you've worked with angels, with founders, sorry.
Yes, I think this is where the benefit of syndication comes in, that the founder has the benefit of being able to draw on a diverse range of perspectives and business backgrounds to support the venture. It doesn't mean that the founder has to then deal with 20 individuals, because there's usually a lead angel who acts as the point of contact between the founder and the syndicate in the post-investment relationship. But for example, with the syndicate that we're forming at the moment, we have everybody's bios, we know their backgrounds and what sort of involvement, what they can contribute to the investee companies. And then the founder will be able to contact the lead angel in the ongoing conversation and access that support, access to networks as they need it. So it's a very important part of the angel investment. It's about much more than just finance.
And that mentor, thank you, Joe. And as mentors without being angels as well, that can be a route into angel investing, or it can just be a way of paying it back as well. And it can be about spending time with founders in industries and sectors that you enjoy spending time with, and that can be leading into where you want to do some small angel investing down the line if you wanted to. The other part is about sharing your stories. And as Nikki, you said earlier about as we're speaking up and seeing what you see as well. I think those are really important parts of it as well. And are there, if I can go around the panel before we move into the angel, where you can find inclusive angels, if everybody can give what's your thoughts, they don't have to be succinct, but your last things that you want to share on what's happening and what we can do as individuals. Nikki, do you want to start?
I think in the current environment, what I've started to say is actually how difficult it is to raise capital. And no matter who I speak with at the moment, even if the product market fit is there, even if the founder is investment ready, in this environment at the moment, it feels very difficult to raise capital. And so I think just, how they're storytelling through this time, understanding like, do you need to right size the business in some ways, even if you still are a startup and aren't big at the moment, so that you can be profitable in this time period, or get to what's break even to get to profitability, to tell that story, and and just empowering, I think, founders who are still trying to figure out, or are more of, I see founders in some of the consumer space who are very art and very creative. And so helping them get to the point where they can really understand the P&L and understand telling that investor story in today's environment and what that looks like, I think going forward is going to be very helpful in this environment. And I just, and I think, I think this environment is tricky from that perspective. And I think I'm repeating myself a little bit, but again, seeing where the background of the founder is and what they need to add to their story to enable them to be in front of the right investor group, so that they can raise capital to continue to grow the business, to get to the next stage, whatever that looks like for their business. So hopefully that's answering.
Yeah. Thanks, Nikki. And Irene, do you want to share your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess kind of final remarks on this for me is that there's now is actually a very good time to start kind of angel investment with extremely low barriers, like starting with crowdfunding, where in many campaigns you can start with as little as £10, definitely kind of £100, and essentially start building a portfolio even with a small budget to learn about assessing different companies. You can ask directly questions to all of the entrepreneurs for crowdfunding. There's a public Q&A. You can set up calls with entrepreneurs. You can start analyzing pitch decks, financial models, as well as understanding kind of valuations, although maybe in crowdfunding they tend to be a bit higher. But kind of like understanding, seeing, which businesses go well, which one don't, and kind of learning. That might be a kind of a good way to start. as well as joining angel groups we've been discussing with the angel group in Wales. We discussed Alma Angels before, Hermesa, for also people interested in climate change. Green Angel Syndicate is a really good angel syndicate, and they've been also trying to do a lot of work to bring in diversity. So I think there's, there are a lot of communities out there that people can join, and you can join a community and not make investments. It might take some time, but also in my experience as well, it can also take time to build a relationship with entrepreneurs. So I tend to really like early stage companies and meet them at idea stage. So it might take me, 2 years before I can actually invest in the company and have to maybe help them find like other investors in the process. But I guess so my but that also means that then my due diligence is done, quite well across a long period of time, and I really get to know the entrepreneurs. So I think it's, I think, if you're anyone in the audience is thinking about angel investment, there are many ways to start with small funding, and also, doing it as a way to kind of learn and maybe train themselves on a new industry that they would like to focus on.
Thank you, Irene. Those are really important about that, taking your time, and that you might spend 2 years with a founder at different points along there, meeting them at different times, and that's your due diligence. You get to know them and ask them lots of questions as a mentor or an expert along their journey. Carol, do you want to share your last thoughts?
Yeah, well, hopefully today we've demystified a little bit about what it is to be an angel investor, in terms of you don't have to be, exited a business for tens of millions. It is accessible. Within our group, we've got C-suite executives, we've got lawyers, accountants, entrepreneurs that have been there and done it. But they're all coming together, small ticket sizes, and learn as they go. So I think the more we can build awareness of just how accessible it is, and to get started, you do that by going out there and finding a group that you can talk to. Don't go it alone. Go out there. There's plenty of groups out there. Speak to people. Find one that works for you. In Wales, we've got Angel Invest Wales, and we've got this Women Angel Wales group. But there's plenty out there in terms of locally and nationally now, where you can say, I'm interested. Can I have a chat? So I really advocate starting a conversation, and in addition, just trying to build more awareness with the accountants and the financial advisors, because our reach is only so wide, and the reach needs to go wide as the message gets louder.
That's a really good point, Carol, about joining groups, getting the message out there wider as well is really important. And Jill, you're working hard on spreading that message as well. Jill, you're on mute.
It doesn't have to be a lonely experience. It's not a case of you have to know all the answers, or you have to know everything before you start to get involved. As a founder, try to grow your network and speak to other people who've gone through the process, talk to investors and to other founders. As an investor, as Carol said, find a syndicate, go along, talk to them. There won't be any pressure to start investing straight away. Get to know your fellow investors, get to know your own aims and values, what you want from it and your expectations, and also what you can give to the founders. So it's very much, I keep saying, it's relationships and it's collaboration. And not just collaboration within the syndicate, but with other syndicates as well, because businesses invariably need follow-on rounds of funding. So it needs to be a number of people and syndicates working together on deals.
That's an important part about different groups can connect together and co-invest as well. So one small angel group can invest with others, and that's really important that angel groups do that as well, that they connect. And my thoughts on that is very much for founders as well. Go and ask somebody who might be inclusive. minded, or go and ask the groups, keep asking and ask for a referral and just follow that chain through, and and give it time as well. Give it time to build, rather than going early for your investment with a view to building your network before you need that actual funding coming in. And from an investor, or everybody really, as well as looking at what do we consider a measure of success, and that from an investor point of view, that might be a long cap table is not a measure of success, and yet actually it means that founder has worked harder, that they may not have come from a wealth background, and therefore their achievement is actually greater, and therefore their ability, their resilience perhaps is stronger for building the business future. So it's also looking at how do we define our measures of success, whether that's cap tables, whether that's how we define confidence, and perhaps we should be redefining what confidence looks like. And it's looking at how are those measures of success coming through in our questions as well. We've mentioned some of the inclusive angel groups. We have some of them on our LinkedIn posts that we keep updating. Definitely, we've talked about Alma, Hamasa, Green Angels, Angel Investing School. There are more and more out there. Ada Ventures, Astia VC also have an angel group as well, and I believe they're starting a 1K angel ticket size as well to start. They're going to start a group that size. So there are angels out there who are inclusive. Ideally, there'd be a network connecting everybody, and I'm sure that will come eventually. Are there any other angel groups that we've not mentioned, that you want to shout out as a panel?
I suppose, yeah, going around the regions, obviously there's lots of other groups. So you've got BPEC in Bristol, and obviously others regionally. So yeah, I don't know all of them, but Mint Ventures in Scotland have been really useful to us. We were introduced to them recently by British Business Bank, who were really helpful in connecting the devolved nations. So yeah, there's lots going on regionally. I'm sure if you Google it and speak to someone, you will find someone. You'll find both nationally and locally, because what I really liked about Hamasa was how they had a global presence from day one, and everything they do is online, so you don't have any geographical barriers. But then you have other local groups where everybody wants to meet up, so you will find a way to do it that suits you, and you don't have to be stuck to one of them. You can be in several of them. So I think it's an exciting time, and there is plenty out there. Hopefully most of them are listed on the UKBAA too.
Yeah, that's a good point about UKBAA. There's Diversity X as well. That's probably Kevin who's put that on there. There's and BPEC, Heather Frankham on the UKBAA talk mentioned that there's 17% now female angels within their group, which is a great achievement, and I'm sure Heather's had lots to do with that. There's Fund Her North that we talked about earlier, and I'm trying to go to my list, sorry.
I think you mentioned Cornerstone Partners as well, didn't you?
Yep, Cornerstone Partners, and obviously Andy, who set up Angel Investing School, has come from Backstage Capital, and they've done amazing amount of work there. And in terms of following individuals as well, there's Dana Kanze has done so much research and has recently done another report as well. So there are individuals who are very active as well.
Andy Davis has also done a couple of really great reports in his 10 by 10 fund as well. So he's another someone to follow from that perspective too.
Brilliant. And then lastly, do we have any questions as well? I'm going to just have a look at if anybody have got any questions that they want to write on the chat that we can answer in our last 5 minutes. That'd be brilliant. No. Okay. Are there any other thoughts we want to share? I think we've covered so much, and I really want to thank everybody from the panel and everybody who's given their time to come and listen as well, and everybody who might be interested in the recording. Oh, great. Somebody has got a question. Oh, I can't see your question, but I can see you've raised your hand. It's gone. Oh, there we go. Hi, Heather.
Yes, hi there. The chat is disabled.
Oh, right. Thanks for letting me know. The chat's disabled. Oh dear. Okay. Oh. So some people can chat, but others can't. I don't know how to change it.
I found a question here from Helen James. I've got on the Q&A.
Is it possible to send the groups, angel groups, by email? Yes. And the Bristol group is BPEG. Is there a WhatsApp group for networking? That's a really good question. Not at the moment. There isn't. But I think we'll share all the different angel groups, and we keep them up on an Inclusive Angels post as well. When we haven't got an event, it's pinned on our top one, and we keep it updated. So anybody who wants to update more, that'd be brilliant as well. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks to the panel, thanks to the audience, and we will share the recording afterwards. But if anybody wants to get in touch for any questions afterwards as well, please feel free to do so. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, everyone.